How's it going, YouTube? Thanks for tuning in. In today's video, we're going to be switching out a steering angle sensor, also known as a SAS, on a 2007 BMW Z4 Coupe. I know there's a lot of impatient people out there, so without further ado, let's jump into the video.
So we're going to remove the car seat here. Obviously, you want to disconnect the battery. In my particular case, I just went on to remove the battery. You may wonder, how is it that you're going to get this seat off if you take out the battery? Well, I got my jump starter pack right here, and I'll just hook it up in here. Right in this direction where my finger's pointing, you'll see the terminal for the positive lead, and then here is the negative. So if you hook up your jump starter pack, that into those 2 points, you essentially are sending electricity into the car, even if you don't have your battery hooked up. So by doing so, you'll be able to move the car seat back and forth as needed to get to the 2 bolts in the back, and as well as the ones in the front. And so in this particular case, the bolts already been removed. I went on to disconnect the cable. Actually, I don't think I have. So let's do that now. So let's see right here. Here it is. What you do is there it is. It's off. See the little black tab right here? You just push upwards, up, and that's gonna release the disconnect here. And obviously to reattach, you put it back in there and push down on that to re-secure it. So now that we got this disconnected from the seat, we should be able to then secure the seat belt. And then here is just what I did is I just kind of pried this piece outwards. This one here still attached. I don't want to mess around too much with it. I just slid the seatbelt off from the bottom, and also undo it from the car seat frame down there. That size is going to be 16 millimeters for both the bolts that hold down the seat in the back, in the front, and also your seatbelt to the frame. And here's the bolt. So now what we do is we take out the seat. Alright, so now that we got the car seat removed, there's a bolt that we need to remove off the steering column. There it is right there. Shining it with the light. That right there. It's going to be one of those Torx. I believe it's a E10. We'll verify that here in a little bit. A pro tip, so depending on the position of your steering wheel, that bolt right there could be either facing sideways, maybe upside down. But to ensure that it's facing upwards just the way it is, you got to make sure that your steering wheel it's straight. So to get that aluminum bolt, what we're going to need is a E10 star bit shape socket, and we're just going to loosen it up. So I had already loosened it. So that's that right there. It's very likely that we may have to remove these components here, which are linked to the intake, excuse me, just so that we can get the that bottom steering column and push it downwards, because that one can be contracted, and that's the only way we're going to be able to free up the steering column and remove it from the inside. Okay, so what I ended up doing was I removed the intake components off just to kind of give me more space there to work with. And as you can see, I was able to detach the steering column from the lower portion, which is just there, sitting there. And all it is really, you do have to remove that that E10 Torx bolt. There it is. And then just kind of push down on the lower portion. Okay, moving over to the inside. Kind of wish I would have shown it on video, but there's this plastic piece that goes right about there. So what I ended up doing, you're gonna have to remove this. There's no other way. The way I did it, since I don't have a saw or anything, I just kind of yanked it down. So I broke off this end, and then over here I just kind of just broke it off. And so throw that away. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to detach the this bundle of wires here from the zip ties that it's tied into. Essentially the goal is to loosen everything out, disconnect any disconnects, so that when we get to the actual steering column, when we remove the bolts, that whole piece comes down in one go. The next objective is also to remove the this airbag here. Alright, so I found these bolts here. There's one there, another one that went, these bolts here. So I found these bolts here. These are T30s. One there was another one that was there that I just took off, and then there are another two over here. I believe if you remove those, this airbag should come off. Let's find out. Okay, so here's a lesson learned from removing this airbag here. Once you remove the 4 screws, 2 on each side, you're going to face these types of clips. Okay. Maybe that's a better angle right there. So there's going to be 3 of those. Okay, 1, 2, and then there's going to be the third one over here. I tried my best to pinch them so that they will slide off their slot. But I think what I ended up just doing was just kind of forcing it down. And keep in mind that might bring some risk, breaking off these little tabs. This one's a little bit wiggly. And then I was able to get a screwdriver, a miniature screwdriver, kind of like this. And I was just kind of prying it open until eventually this just kind of flew out. This one right here I completely destroyed. I got a screwdriver in there and I just kind of bent the crap out of it. Eventually I was able to pull this out at the expense of one of these metal clips. There's another one of those somewhere in the car. But just be mindful. These are going to be a hassle to remove. Unless you can come up with a better idea, I would say maybe destroy them and see if you can just get more of these from your local junkyard. Alright, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to remove the airbag off the steering wheel, and off to the sides you'll see these little holes right there, one of each end. This is a TT25, and I already got this side popped out. See, there's a bigger gap here. So now over to this side, get it in the hole. There's the spring right there, and let's try one more time. Okay. Spring down, and there it is. Just like that. The airbag is disconnected, or excuse me, it's detached from the steering wheel. Keep in mind that there's cables that are plugged into the airbag. You can see them right there. Get some light. There's cables, so you don't want to just yank the airbag out. You want to disconnect those cables. And it seems like we can start out with this one here. Okay, so that's out. Now you have these other two. Again, it is imperative that the battery is disconnected. Okay. No battery. And also my jump starter pack is not connected in there like I had previously shown. Okay, so I just want to show you guys real quick what the process is like whenever you remove the steering wheel airbag. By inserting the T25 into the side holes here, what you're doing is you are, as you can see, you are unhooking where the airbag secures in here, right? So that's all you're really doing. So you just gotta find that little spring and just push out, and that's what's gonna release that airbag on both sides. To remove these connectors here to the airbag, what you're going to need is a pick, and what you want to do is you want to push these upwards. So just get it in here, push up, this is going to pop up. Do the same for this one, push up, and then these should come off. There's your airbag right there. Set it aside. Okay, so now we're going to proceed to remove this bolt right here, which is a size 16. It is recommended that you take a picture so that you know where connectors go, just for future reference. So let's get that out and just continue to remove all the connectors that secure the steering wheel. Okay, so we're going to proceed to remove the remaining components. Keep in mind that there is a screw up here that holds this upper casing in place, so let's go on and remove that. Also, there's going to be some Torx screws in there, one on that side, one on the other. So essentially just remove anything that you see that is affixed to the steering wheel, and disconnect any cables that you may run into. As a warning, it is easy to forget where each connector goes, so it is recommended that you take a picture before you proceed any further. Okay, so the hard disk cable I was able to get off was this one here that's connected to the ignition switch. As you can see, there's not very much room to work with. What I ended up doing was using this pick right here. I ended up sticking it from the top. Essentially, this is the top right here. So this is the top. I wanted to stick it in between the casing and this and the plug, and then just kind of yank it this way. It's very delicate. Don't want to damage this casing here, because if you do, then that's a whole different other project there. But eventually, if you take your time, you'll be able to get it out. All the other ones were fairly easy to remove. So with that being said, we are clear to proceed down there and start detaching the this cable bundle. Okay, so now that I've undone many of the clips that hold the wiring bundle into the frame, into the steering column. So there's two right here, 1, 2, they go in those 2 holes. There's that connector, that's a connector to the steering angle sensor. There's this one here that goes up to the electric, I think that's the power steering. And there's this other cable here that I don't know how to remove, but once I lower the steering column, this is going to come down along with that. So maybe that'll give me more leverage to disconnect that plug. There's this other one here that goes somewhere around here. Probably right there. Right there. More than likely there, or probably there. That's probably a good reason why you want to take pictures or a recording. At this point, all there is left to do is remove the 8 bolts that hold the steering column, and once you do that, then you should be able to access the steering angle sensor. Okay, so we're back. I wasn't able to undo this cable here, so I'm just going to drop the steering column and unhook it. Then there's going to be 8 bolts, 13 millimeters that need to be removed. There are some in the back, 4 on the back. You can see them right there, 1, 2, and there's 2 other ones back there, and then there's these 2 right here, and finally these 2 over here in the front. 8 total is what's going to drop the steering column here. Okay, so we got the steering column down. There's a little green clip here that secures the transmission, the automatic transmission cable into the ignition switch. You just basically pinch it from the bottom, and it'll just eventually pop out. I use some needle nose to get underneath, so just be mindful of that. Be careful not to try to bend this cable or damage it in any way, because that might cause further trouble down the road. Okay, so here it is. Here's the SAS that we're going to be replacing. As you can see, we have these little white couplings. These slide out, but these are in there very good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a flat head, get a mallet, and just kind of start slowly tapping them. Hopefully they'll slide out. Once I get these 2 out, I should be able to remove the SAS, the steering angle sensor here. It's still plugged in. Nope, it's unplugged. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to unplug this sensor next. So with the new sensor here, what we're going to do is you want to grab your pick. Okay, this one served me very well, and here you see there's a little small tab in there. Well, the most effective way I was able to get this thing off was by getting the pick in between, right there, in between there, and just kind of priving it out. And that's how I was able to disconnect this. So unfortunately, in the process of removing these 2 couplings, or bushings, whatever the hell they're called, they were very fragile and they cracked and broke. This one, it might be still somewhat reusable. I'm just gonna apply some durable glue in there. I might do the same for these 2 right here. I really don't see the purpose of these right here, but I might just run over to the local auto parts store, see if they have something equivalent. If not, then I'm just going to reuse these and hope for the best. Okay, so I just apply a little bit of glue in there. It's just this crack right there. And This is the type that I use. Good old UHU. It's a German brand. Something that I acquired while I lived in Germany. As far as this one right here, I noticed that they kind of just kind of break apart. Except something must have broke. Maybe there was a clip or something that kept them together, because now they just they're loose. So I'm just gonna apply some of that glue. All right, gang. So here's a new use one, and we're just gonna slide that old one out and get this one back in. But before I slide this one back in, obviously I want to make sure that the numbers match, you know, the part numbers align. Make sure that I got the right steering angle sensor here. Okay, so that's the used one that we're going to install, and I just want to take this opportunity here to pinpoint these little tabs here. So there's this one here, and then there's another one here down here. So whenever you get ready to take out the old steering angle sensor, obviously this is going to be in, right? As such, you won't be able to have quite good view, but you can kind of sense it. Just like I said, just kind of pinch them as best as you can so that this can pop out, because these lock in here and then up there as well. That's what keeps the steering angle sensor in place into the steering column. Alright, here's another challenge here. So whenever you install the new SAS, keep in mind that the tabs, those little white tabs right there, may not align with the way this is positioned, because obviously the way you took it out from the old car is not going to match the way you took out the one from your car. So it is imperative that your steering angle sensor it's got like this little the stick right here that goes into an opening in the casing of the SAS. That needs to go in there. I had previously installed this, and this was outside of that right there, so this was just kind of free spinning. The way about that is you're just gonna have to kind of mess around with the inner component of the SAS, and just kind of twist it until the opening aligns with that little clip right there. And once it does, you just snap it in place, and so now it's not moving at all. Okay, so this is what I meant by the inner circle here. So this is adjustable. You can turn this, right? So whenever you install the new SAS into your steering column, obviously you want to make sure that that little stick goes and secures inside this little square here. It's very likely that this may not align with the clips that are already on your steering column, so you're just gonna have to kind of mess around and move this along to match the clips. And and all you gotta do is just match one, really. And once it goes through, slide that thing in, and it's gonna lock in place. Make sure it doesn't move around, and that's how you know you've properly secured the steering angle sensor there. Always make sure that the side with the sticker faces the firewall of the vehicle, and obviously the back is what's going to be facing towards the steering wheel. So I'm just going to reuse the old couplings, and we're going to put them back and put everything back together, essentially the way you took everything out apart. Well, there you have it right there. Couplings are back in the steering shaft. The SAS is installed. Now let's plug everything back in. Hope for the best. Okay, if you're doing this by yourself and you don't have one of those Milwaukee electro ratchets, you're gonna definitely need some help, because not only is this thing heavy as hell, but aligning it to the holes and getting at least the first bolt going is definitely a time consuming job right there within itself. Luckily I was able to use this and get the first bolt going. Another thing to keep in mind is the placement of the bolts. Okay, so the sequence is as follows. It's the let's see. Okay, there you go. This is going to be the short bolts here, the long bolts there, and then the other 4 are the short bolts in the back. Keep in mind that to get those long bolts back in, if you're trying to use a deep socket like this one, it's not going to work because the bolt is going to drop to its lowest point and it's not going to let the bolt catch on to the top. So what I ended up using was something equivalent of that size. I had this one here. This is a ½ inch, and I was able to at least get the threads going for the long bolts. Now that they're caught in there, then I can go in there with the ratchet and tie them up. And so there you have it. Everything's back in place, to include this little leg vent for the blower there. It's fairly easy to put back in place. Reattach the wiring harness back to its locations. Everything looks good on this end. Keep in mind that if you come across this particular wire, you may be wondering, where the hell does it go to? Well, this one is the one that plugs into this airbag right here. It took me a while to figure that out. I was trying to figure if this needed to be connected elsewhere. Hence the reason, the importance of taking pictures. And then there's that cable back there. This is just simply for the your leg room light. With that being said, we're going to continue to put everything back together, and hopefully our efforts didn't go into vain. I just wanted to retouch the situation here with the legroom airbag. As you guys recall, I busted some of these clips, these little metal clips here. It only takes 3, 1, 2, and then 3 over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove one of these. This is the cover for the light switch. It takes 2. Before, I didn't have any, and the cover held in very well. So I'm just going to go on and remove one of these and install it in that, because I'd rather have this more secure than that. Okay, this is for the plug-in clip for the airbag. To get this to open up, what I did is I pried the top here with my pick on one side, and it lift up, and then I did it on the other side as well, and the whole top lift up. That should allow you to put it back in the airbag, and then just press down on the top portion here to resecure it. Okay, here's one observation that I made. When you put the coupling back into the shaft, make sure that you don't go all the way in, but also you don't want to be all the way down. There's a spot where, as you can see in the video, it's perfect. You can get the bolt in there, because if you were to slide it further up, there's a piece of metal or something that protrudes a little bit and won't let the aluminum bolt catch on to the threads. So just play around until you find that sweet spot, and once you do, you should be able to put in that aluminum bolt without any issues. Hey guys, so thanks so much for watching my video, and I just want to make something very clear. Removing the SAS from the actual shaft is not as easy as it seems. As you guys recall from the video, there's those little clips, right, that you can sense them by putting your fingers in there. Well, even if you pinch them together into the shaft, sometimes that won't clear the SAS from sliding out. So here I have a diagram the actual SAS. So just think of this as the SAS, the casing. Here's the hole, right? This is the front view. This is the side view of the SAS, right? So you got the shaft, and then you got those little the clips, right, that go into these little two openings. Well, even if I pinch them together, the little pointy parts of the clip still prevented the casing from sliding out. So what I ended up doing was I used like a screwdriver to kind of round the pointy part of the clips there, because at one point I was even considering just completely snapping them off. But what helped me was using like a flat screwdriver and rounding off the pointy part of the clips. So essentially this became roundish. So whenever I did end up pinching them, I had the clearance to slide the SAS from the shaft. By doing this, that's what kind of got me to just go on and do the job right there on the spot. And as I was advancing, that's when I thought, okay, maybe this is a good idea to record and do a video. But hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of how I was able to remove the SAS off the shaft by doing something like this. But hopefully that's not your case. Hopefully you won't have any issues by pressing these two clips together. Okay, once you connect your diagnostics tool to your car, keep in mind that right now I'm doing this on one of my other vehicles, but the process is the same for any vehicle. So here you'll see a spot here for SAS. Just go on and click on that. It's going to detect your car. And you're going to come across these two options here. You're going to select steering column electronics. And on this next page, you're going to select calibration steering angle sender. So once you select that, it's going to give you instructions on how to calibrate the steering angle sensor. Just make sure that your wheels are straight. Make sure your steering wheel is also as level as possible. And eventually, for this particular car, I don't need to do this procedure. So this is why it's telling me, hey, do you really want to do this? But if you were to proceed to calibrate, it's going to give you the degrees, right, where the sensor currently reads. So obviously, once you have your steering wheel straight, your wheels are straight, you want to go on and reset it. And what's going to happen is those degrees are going to turn into 0 degrees. And that's what's going to tell the car, okay, the steering angle is now reading 0, meaning that it's reading straight. So whenever you turn the steering wheel to one side, it'll turn in the positive direction, and the opposite side is going to turn to the negative direction. And that is how you reset your steering angle sensor. So here's a pro tip. So one way I made sure that my steering angle sensor was reading straight, or try to get it as 0 as possible, was I went and drove on this long road at night and just drove straight as possible and kind of did the whole procedure with the diagnostic tool right there and then. Keep in mind, this is not going to be 100% perfect. Eventually, it may require you to take your car to get it aligned, but that was a way that you could potentially get your car, or ensure that your car is as close to that 0 degrees as possible. Well, there you have it. Hopefully this video helped you, and if it did, please give it a thumbs up. Perhaps consider subscribing. There's plenty of other projects that I'll be undertaking on this particular C4. And if you have any questions, put them down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Take care, everyone.